So a while back, I did a video called Share My Story as the Worst Channel, and I uploaded that video on January 16th, 2020, and I thought I would never do a video on these story channels ever again. Well, they've gotten a lot worse. A lot worse. A lot worse. And we're going to take a look at some of them today.
Hi, my name is Kayla, and I got pregnant when I was still in elementary school.
So she grew up on this really tiny island, but they don't say what island because that might help us determine this didn't happen. So eventually her parents moved to America, and she starts a better school, and eventually her parents get good jobs, and their life's just turning out for the better. And then she meets a guy named Brad.
That was when I met this really nice guy named Brad. I fell in love with him immediately. My parents allowed us to date because it seemed like it was so innocent. After all, we were both still so young. We spent a lot of time together. It was so much fun, and I loved kissing him. We were foolish and really young. One night, while my mom was working overtime, we stayed home alone. We began having too much fun, and one thing led to another.
You know, you gotta ask yourself, how do you get carried away in elementary school like this? I mean, like, most elementary schoolers think that, like, relationships are gross. So, like, you gotta ask, like, how do you get carried away with kissing and it turns into you getting pregnant in elementary school?
At first, I didn't notice anything was different. A few weeks passed by, and I began getting sick in the mornings. Mom got concerned, but since I felt better after a while, she brushed it off as the flu. I didn't want her to be concerned, so I pretended I didn't feel queasy most mornings. I kept going to school and studying as normal, but things kept getting weird. My stomach began swelling up, and by then I knew that something was wrong. I talked to Brad first, and we figured out I was pregnant.
Ah, yes, most elementary school people don't even know how pregnancy works, but they're over here solving whether or not they're pregnant. Like, where did they get a pregnancy test from? Like, I guess their parents have them lying around.
I completely freaked out and didn't want to tell my parents anything about it, but there wasn't anything else I could do. That night, I blurted the news out in the middle of dinner. I was too upset to try and calmly explain it to them. My parents were incredibly mad. They scolded me for hours and couldn't believe I could have gotten pregnant since I was so young.
My parents would probably disown me if I got a girl pregnant in elementary school, but all her parents are doing is just yelling at her.
They took me to the doctor and wanted to confirm if it was true. After a quick echography and a blood test, it was confirmed. I was expecting a baby.
Imagine you're a doctor, and then a mom, a dad, and a daughter comes in, and the mom says, I would like to get a pregnancy test on that little girl, my daughter. What would you do in that situation if you were the doctor?
The doctor told them I was over 4 months pregnant.
It took them 4 months to realize she was pregnant. I mean, like, just 4 months and 15 days, and she's, like, already halfway of giving birth. God damn.
So there was no other choice but to keep the baby. When we got back to our home, my mom and dad started arguing. Dad said I was ruining my life, and Mom said that they needed to support me. I was their daughter, and even if I had messed up, they couldn't turn their back on me.
It's like kind of the parents' fault because how do you let your daughter get pregnant in elementary school?
They called Brad's parents, and the four of them met up. Brad and I were terrified, and all the adults were furious. They explained that they would support us, but that the baby would be our responsibility.
They're not even responsible for themselves. How are they going to take care of a baby?
We would have to keep studying, and when we arrived home from school, we'd take care of our son or daughter. We agreed immediately, of course, not only because it was the right thing to do, but because we were both terrified of our parents' anger. I continued studying all through my pregnancy. I was very lucky since both my parents and Brad's mom and dad really were there for us every step of the way. Against all odds, Brad and I continued dating all through high school. When we graduated, we moved in together with our daughter, Lucy.
And then they get married. Next story!
Hello everyone, my name is Charlene, but you can call me Charlie.
Who did the animation for this? So she's an accident. Her and a boyfriend got pregnant, and while her mom was giving birth to her, she died while giving birth because of like blood things or whatever. And the grandpa wants to keep the baby, and the grandma doesn't. But the grandpa convinces the grandma to keep the baby. So the grandma absolutely hates the baby, and eventually she grows up, and eventually she hits puberty, and then one night her grandpa did it.
It was one afternoon later that month that it happened. He did it with me. Against my will, of course. This was the first time this had happened, and I remember it crystal clear. I was just frozen in place, staring unseeingly ahead of me. I could hear the vacuum upstairs from my grandmother cleaning, and I focused more on that than anything else. It didn't seem real, but I knew it was, and I
So he did it with his wife in the house?
was horrified. I wanted to scream, to claw at his face, and push away. But what would happen if I did? I was so terrified what else he was capable of doing, what he might do if I tried.
So her grandpa got her pregnant 3 times, and then finally she went to the police, and all of this was over.
One last thing I want to say is that if this is something you are dealing with, or have dealt with, and never told anyone about,
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible. I mean, like, a lot of people have to deal with their grandpa trying to get them pregnant on a daily basis. I mean, it's horrible. A lot of people have to deal with it. Alright, guys, the final video we're gonna review.
Hi, my name is Britta, and I'd like to tell you how my big teddy bear got me pregnant.
What, did you put your thing up to the teddy bear's crotch? So she moves into college and she's all lost and she has no idea what she does until one day...
That was until I met this amazing guy, Bran, at the laundromat. I was sitting there, reading a book all by myself, and he just walked over to me and started talking. He said I seemed lonely, and it was such a big relief to have someone to speak to, you know? So we made a great connection right away, and it didn't take long for him to ask me out. He was super cute, and the first guy I really liked, so I said yes. He helped me out so much as well. He taught me how to drive so that when I could finally afford a car, I wouldn't struggle with lessons. Bran also helped me out with different things around my dorm and gave me great tips on how to save money on super basic stuff.
So it turns out he's really into pranks. And he pranks his girlfriend a lot, but also he's really nice. And one day he gets her a teddy bear.
Bran was also the kind of guy who loved to surprise his girl in nice ways. Whenever he got any extra money from his parents or a bonus at work, he'd buy me super sweet gifts. Oh, you should have seen the gorgeous ring he got me once, and all the pretty dresses. And once, well, he got me this big, white, fluffy teddy bear. It was larger than me. It took up half my bed, but I didn't mind. It was simply the cutest thing I had ever seen. I loved it, and thanked him so much for it. Funny thing was, we weren't celebrating any special occasion or anything of the sort. He just gave it to me to show me how much he loved me. Or so I thought.
So she finishes her first year of college and she meets a guy named John, I think, and basically she falls in love with him because she doesn't have to worry about a prank coming her way, and then eventually she discovers she's pregnant.
3 months later, I discovered I was pregnant. Now this might seem only natural to you. I was with John, and he got me pregnant, right? Wrong! It was around that time that Bran sent me a text message. He hadn't been talking with me at all over the past few months, so I found it weird. I had figured he simply didn't want to remain friends after all, you know? When I read the text, I went so pale, believe me. I couldn't believe what he had sent me. Bran explained that he had snuck into my flat multiple times using the key I had given him. He even saw John propose to me, and oh boy, he wasn't pleased about it. So he snuck into my dorm again the very next night, and actually got inside the big teddy bear he had given me. Can you believe it wasn't really a gift, but part of an elaborate plan? Back when we were dating, he had bought it to scare me. The teddy bear was big enough for him to fit inside it, and the idea was that he'd slip into it one night and wake me up making growling sounds and flapping the teddy's arms around. But instead, since I had dumped him, he decided to sneak into the toy bear after we broke up. I loved to sleep cuddling the toy, and he knew it. So one night, before I got into my room, he snuck into the teddy and waited for me to come home and fall asleep. He got me pregnant, using the teddy bear to be in my bed while I rested, and I never even realized what he was doing.
Because you're dumb, and I'm pretty sure, like, if you're in the process of getting a girl pregnant in the future, I'm pretty sure a girl would wake up. Well, guys, that's really all the time I have for this video. Thanks for watching. Like, sub, and peace out. Thank you for watching.